we always talk about fluency, right? And like sounding more natural when you speak English.
Yeah.
But get this, confidence is like the key ingredient.
Oh, interesting.
Not memorizing all the grammar rules or having like a zillion words in your vocabulary. It's about feeling comfortable enough to just speak.
Okay.
Even making mistakes.
So this expert is kind of flipping the script on how we usually think about learning languages, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. They say that being scared of making mistakes is like the biggest thing holding people back.
It's so true. I've totally been there.
Yeah.
Like I have to be perfect before I can even, open my mouth.
Right, right.
But this expert uses a really cool example of a learner named Paul.
Okay.
Paul knew a ton of vocabulary.
Okay, so you have the words.
Yeah, but he really struggled to actually speak fluently.
Huh. So what was the turning point for him?
So his breakthrough was actually super simple.
Okay.
He just started repeating really basic phrases.
Over and over.
Over and over again. And it wasn't about complicated stuff.
Gotcha.
It was just about building that muscle memory,
Yeah.
Getting comfortable with the sounds.
The rhythms.
The rhythms of English.
I see. So it's kind of like practicing scales on a piano.
That's a great analogy. Yeah.
You start with those simple scales, and then eventually you can play these incredible melodies.
Exactly.
But how does this tie into sounding more natural when you speak?
That's where this idea of active listening comes in.
Active listening.
It's more than just hearing words, right?
Great.
It's about really breaking down how native speakers actually put sentences together.
Their intonation.
Yeah, intonation.
Yeah.
The way they connect their ideas.
It's like you're becoming a detective of the language.
Exactly. So we're not just listening for the meaning.
Right.
We're analyzing the mechanics of how spoken English really works.
I like that, the mechanics.
Yeah.
So to get better at this active listening, the expert suggests a technique called shadowing.
Have you ever heard of that?
I think so, but remind me.
It's basically mimicking a native speaker.
Okay.
In real time.
So I'm trying to match their pronunciation, their rhythm, everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're like a vocal chameleon, blending in with the way native speakers sound.
That's kind of a cool visual, right?
Yeah, and the cool thing about shadowing is that you kind of bypass all the overthinking.
Oh, interesting.
You're not stuck in grammar rules. You're just training your ear and your vocal muscles to just do what native speakers do.
To sound natural.
To sound natural.
But doesn't that make you sound like a robot?
Well, that's a good question, and the expert actually addresses that directly.
Yeah.
The point isn't to become a perfect copycat.
Right.
It's about absorbing those natural patterns,
Okay.
but then adapting them to your own voice, to your own style.
So it's like finding that balance.
Exactly.
Between mimicking and making the language your own.
Exactly. And shadowing isn't just about pronunciation either.
It helps you understand how grammar and vocabulary are actually used.
In real life.
In real life conversations.
Because textbooks don't always capture that, do they?
No, they don't.
Yeah.
By listening and mimicking, you start to pick up on all those subtle things that make a big difference.
This is really making sense.
Yeah.
So we've got confidence as the foundation, active listening is a big one, and then shadowing to really internalize those natural rhythms and sounds.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing repetition's got to be a big part of this too, right?
You're right on track.
Okay.
Repetition's huge,
Okay.
but not in the way we usually think about it.
Like flashcards.
Not like flashcards, not mindless drilling.
Yep.
It's not about memorization.
So what is it about?
It's about training your brain
Okay.
to effortlessly pull up the words and phrases that you need.
Like it just rolls off the tongue.
Exactly. It's like building muscle memory, but for language.
So we're literally rewiring our brains to become more fluent.
That's a great way to think about it.
That's pretty cool.
And there are so many cool and creative ways to build repetition into your language practice.
Oh, I want to hear about these.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking to yourself in the mirror, right?
That's a
The
classic.
mirror technique.
It's a great way to combine repetition with visual feedback, right?
Yeah.
You see yourself speaking.
Yeah.
And that can help build your confidence.
Makes it less awkward when you're talking to an actual person.
Exactly. It's like having a built-in practice buddy.
Yeah.
But without the pressure of being judged, right?
Yes.
And the expert has even more ideas to make repetition more fun,
Okay. Wait on me.
more effective.
Yeah.
They suggest combining shadowing with repetition.
Okay, so I'm shadowing, I'm mimicking,
Yeah.
and then what?
So you pick a short audio clip or a video, right?
Okay.
You shadow it a few times, and then you try to repeat the same phrases or sentences without the audio. So that helps like cement those patterns in your mind.
It's like the shadowing is the training wheels.
I like that.
And then I take them off when I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's a great way to put it.
And they really stress the importance of keeping things fresh and engaging.
So I don't get bored.
Right.
That...
You could try recording yourself speaking.
Oh, interesting.
And then listening back.
To hear like how it sounds?
Yeah, to identify areas where you might want to improve.
I never thought about doing that for language practice.
It can be really insightful.
Okay.
And you could even like change up your environment.
What do you mean?
Instead of always practicing at your desk, try walking around your room or even going outside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like my whole world becomes a language learning playground.
Exactly.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. This reminds me of something the expert said about a student named Maria.
Oh, yeah.
She practiced describing her surroundings while walking in her neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah. That's really cool.
So instead of just like passively looking around,
right,
she was actively engaging with her environment in English.
By describing the houses, the trees, the people.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's practicing vocab, sentence structure, pronunciation, and getting some fresh air.
All at the same time.
That's amazing. It's like turning everyday activities into these little mini language lessons.
Exactly. And I bet it made those walks way more interesting.
Definitely.
And this all ties into another big point the expert makes, the importance of making language practice fun.
Okay, this is where I get really excited. Tell me more.
All right.
How do we make it fun?
So the expert says that when you enjoy the process, you're way more likely to stick with it.
That makes sense. Like, if you hate doing it, you're going to find any excuse not to.
Exactly, exactly.
But if it's something you genuinely look forward to,
it just becomes part of your life.
Part of your routine.
Part of your routine. So the expert suggests incorporating things you already enjoy, like watching movies, listening to music, even playing video games.
Hold on. You're telling me I can improve my English by watching Netflix and playing video games?
Well, it's not just about passively consuming the entertainment. It's about actively engaging with it in English.
Okay, so give me an example.
You could watch a movie with English subtitles. You could try to sing along to your favorite English songs.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. You could even change the language settings in your video games.
So I'm like immersing myself in the language through things I already do.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of playfulness.
Oh, I love that.
The expert recommends things like role-playing, speaking games, even joining like online communities where you can connect with other English learners.
I love that idea of bringing back that childlike sense of play.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off, you know?
It does.
It makes it feel more like an adventure.
Exactly.
Less like, studying.
They share this really great example of a student named Anna.
Okay.
She used role-playing to overcome her fear of ordering food at a restaurant.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah. She practiced the scenario at home.
Like a little rehearsal.
Yeah, like imagining herself, talking to the waiter, asking about the menu, placing her order.
So she was prepared when she went out.
Exactly. By practicing beforehand, she built up her confidence to handle that real-life situation.
It's like a mental rehearsal.
It is. It is.
Huh.
For those potentially awkward moments.
Those are the worst.
And there are endless scenarios you can role play.
Like what?
Making a phone call, giving a presentation, even just having a casual conversation with a friend.
Okay, so I'm seeing how this can be really helpful for building fluency and confidence.
Definitely.
What about these speaking games?
Oh, yeah.
What are some examples?
We'll think about games like 20 questions, charades.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
I haven't played those in forever.
Even just telling stories in English. Those can be really good for practicing speaking spontaneously.
I love that.
Games I used to play as a kid.
Yeah.
I never thought to use them to improve my English.
Yeah.
It's all about tapping into that natural joy of playing, you know,
Yeah.
and using it to your advantage. And don't forget about community.
Oh, that's important.
Joining like online forums, language exchange groups, even just finding a conversation partner
Yeah.
can give you such valuable practice.
And support.
And support.
It's easier to stay motivated when you've got people cheering you on.
Definitely. Definitely. And the expert really stresses this. Find what works for you. Make it your own. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
That's reassuring. I don't have to follow some, like, strict plan.
Nope. It's all about experimenting.
Okay.
Finding the techniques that you enjoy.
The ones that click.
The ones that click for you.
Yeah. And remember, it's a journey, not a race.
Oh, that's good.
Right.
Yeah.
There will be bumps along the way. Times when you get frustrated.
Yeah.
Maybe even times when you want to give up.
It happens. It happens to everyone.
Yeah, I think anyone who's ever tried to learn a new language have been there.
Absolutely.
But how do we deal with those challenges,
Good question.
when they inevitably come up?
The expert talks about this. Speaking blocks.
Speaking blocks.
They're totally normal.
Okay, so it's not just me.
It happens to everyone, even native speakers.
Huh.
The key is to look at these challenges as opportunities
Opportunities for what?
for growth, for learning.
So instead of feeling stuck, we can use them to get better.
Exactly.
Okay.
The expert really emphasizes overcoming the fear of making mistakes.
That's a big one, right?
That fear can paralyze us.
It keeps us from speaking freely.
It does.
I've definitely been there. My brain just freezes.
I know the feeling.
And I'm so worried about saying the wrong thing
Right.
that I end up saying nothing at all.
It's a common experience. But the expert actually argues that mistakes are like a crucial part of the learning process.
They are.
They are. Think about it. When we were kids learning to walk,
We fell down a lot.
we fell down all the time, but every time we stumbled, it helped us refine our balance.
And eventually we learned to walk.
And eventually we learned to walk. So it's like those mistakes, they give us the feedback that helps us adjust and get better.
That's a good way to think about it. Instead of being afraid of mistakes, we can use them as stepping stones.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
The expert tells a really inspiring story about a student named Daniel.
Okay, what about Daniel?
He was terrified of making mistakes in English.
Oh, I've been there.
He would overthink every single word. He'd hesitate all the time. And a lot of times he would just avoid speaking altogether.
I feel that. So what helped Daniel?
The expert encouraged him to shift his mindset
From what to what?
from focusing on perfection to focusing on progress.
Oh, I see.
So they helped him understand that making mistakes wasn't a sign of failure.
It was a necessary part of learning.
It's amazing how just changing your perspective can make such a difference.
It really can.
Instead of seeing those mistakes as something to be ashamed of,
Yeah,
we can view them as a way to actually get better.
exactly.
So what are some practical things we can do?
Oh, yeah. The expert gives a bunch of practical tips.
Okay.
One of them is the power of self-talk.
Wait, so I can improve my speaking skills by talking to myself?
You can. It might sound a little strange.
Yeah, it does.
But talking to yourself in English can be super helpful.
Okay, so how do I do this?
The expert suggests using self-talk to, describe your day.
Okay.
Ask yourself questions.
Okay.
Even practice different scenarios out loud. It's like having a conversation with yourself, but in English.
Oh, I see.
You're like turning those internal monologues into language practice.
I like that.
And you can do it anywhere, anytime. You don't have to feel self-conscious.
That's great.
What other techniques do they recommend?
Yeah, I'm all ears. Well, shadowing can be really helpful.
Okay.
Especially when you're feeling stuck.
Oh, how so?
It gives you a framework for speaking, right?
Right.
So you're not putting pressure on yourself to come up with the perfect words.
Oh, okay.
You're just following the lead of a native speaker.
Like training wheels for conversations.
I love that, yes.
But instead of balance, I'm working on my pronunciation, my intonation, my fluency.
That's a great analogy. And you can gradually make it harder as you feel more comfortable.
Oh.
Start with short, simple sentences,
Okay.
and then work your way up to longer, more complex ones.
So I don't overwhelm myself.
Exactly.
What about those situations where I know what I want to say, but the words just won't come out?
Oh, those are the worst, right?
The worst.
The expert recommends role-playing those challenging situations.
Oh, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's like a way to desensitize yourself.
To-
The fear, right.
Okay.
So, for example, if you're nervous about giving a presentation in English,
Yeah.
practice it at home first.
Like a dress rehearsal.
Exactly. A dress rehearsal for real-life conversations.
I like that.
By practicing beforehand, you're training your brain and your body to respond in a calm, confident way.
So I'm not caught off guard when the real thing happens.
Exactly. It's like you're creating a mental script
Okay.
for yourself.
That makes a lot of sense.
And remember, it's not just about the words. It's also about your nonverbal communication.
Oh, right. Like body language.
Exactly. Practice making eye contact,
Mm.
using gestures, projecting your voice.
It's so easy to forget about all that when you're laser focused on the words.
It is. And the expert really emphasizes staying positive.
Okay.
Celebrate the small wins. Focus on your progress.
Yeah.
And remember that every step you take, no matter how tiny, is getting you closer to fluency.
I like they're giving me permission to be imperfect,
They are.
to stumble, to learn, and to just keep going.
Exactly.
But what about when I don't have anyone to practice with?
That's where technology comes in handy.
Oh, yeah.
There are tons of online platforms these days.
Really?
Designed to connect language learners from all over the world.
So even if I don't know any native English speakers personally, I can still find people to practice with.
Absolutely. These platforms offer like a safe, supportive environment.
That's cool.
To connect with others, practice your speaking skills, and even get feedback.
It's less intimidating that way, right?
It is.
Because we're all learning together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even if you prefer practicing solo,
Okay.
you can still use these platforms for things like virtual language exchanges, pronunciation guides, even AI-powered conversation partners.
Oh, technology is really changing the game.
It really is. All these insights from the expert have given us a totally new perspective on how to approach speaking English confidently.
It's not about being perfect.
It's not.
It's about embracing the journey,
It is.
celebrating our progress,
Yeah.
finding ways to make it fun. Couldn't agree more. It's about shifting our focus from fear and self-doubt to a sense of playfulness, curiosity, and a willingness to, like, step outside our comfort zones.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And the most important takeaway, don't let fear hold you back. Embrace the challenge, celebrate the wins, and most importantly, have fun.
That's great advice.
Thank you.
This deep dive has definitely left me feeling inspired and empowered to keep pushing forward
Good.
on my own language learning journey. And I hope our listeners feel the same way.
Me too.
So stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive.
We'll delve deeper into the strategies and techniques that'll help you unlock your English fluency.
See you next time.
Bye. It's like, if you dread practicing English,
Yeah,
you're going to find any excuse to avoid it, right?
totally.
But if you actually look forward to it,
Yeah.
it becomes a natural part of your routine.
I totally agree. There's a huge difference between, like, forcing myself to study
Yeah.
and actually getting lost in a good book or, like,
Yeah.
a good conversation in English.
Exactly. Exactly. But how do we actually make language practice fun, right?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
The expert suggests incorporating activities you already enjoy,
Okay, like what?
like watching movies,
Okay.
listening to music, or even playing video games.
Wait, so you're telling me I can improve my English by watching Netflix and playing video games?
Well, it's not just about passively consuming entertainment. It's about actively engaging with it in English.
Okay, so, like, what does that look like?
For example, you could watch a movie with English subtitles,
Oh, okay.
or try to sing along to your favorite English songs.
I do that already. Does that count?
It totally counts.
Awesome.
You could even change the language settings in your video games.
So I'm immersing myself in the language, even when I'm, like, relaxing and having fun.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And don't forget about playfulness.
Playfulness, huh?
The expert recommends things like role-playing,
Okay.
speaking games, even joining like online communities where you can connect with other English learners.
I love that idea of bringing back that childlike sense of play into language learning.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off.
It does.
It makes it feel more like an adventure.
Exactly. Less like, studying.
Exactly.
The expert gives a great example of a student named Anna.
Okay, what did Anna do?
She used role-playing to get over her fear of ordering food at a restaurant.
Ordering food, yeah, that can be tricky.
It can be.
Especially if you're, like, nervous about your English.
Right. So she practiced the scenario at home.
Like a little rehearsal.
Exactly. Imagining herself talking to the waiter, asking about the menu, placing her order.
Yeah.
So by practicing ahead of time, she built up her confidence to handle that real-life situation.
It's like a mental rehearsal.
It is. It is. For those potentially awkward moments.
Which, let's face it, happen all the time.
They do. And there are endless scenarios you can role play.
Oh, I bet. Like, what else?
Making a phone call, giving a presentation, even just having a casual conversation with a friend.
Okay, yeah. I'm starting to see how this can be really helpful for building fluency
Definitely.
and confidence.
Yeah.
What about these speaking games you mentioned?
Oh, yeah.
What are some examples of those?
Well, you could think about games like 20 questions or charades.
Oh, those are fun.
Right.
I haven't played those in forever.
They bring back good memories.
They do?
Even just telling stories in English can be really effective.
Okay.
Those can be really good for practicing, speaking spontaneously.
Oh, that's good, because you don't have time to think about every word.
Exactly. You got to think on your feet.
I love that. It's like bringing those games we used to play as kids
Yeah.
back into language learning.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's all about tapping into that natural joy of playing.
Yeah.
Using it to your advantage. And don't forget about the power of community.
Community, yeah.
Joining like online forums, language exchange groups, even just finding a conversation partner can give you so much valuable practice.
And support.
And support, yeah.
It's so much easier to stay motivated when you've got people like cheering you on, right?
It is. And the expert really emphasizes this, you know?
What's that?
Find what works for you.
Okay.
Make it your own.
Yeah.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
So I don't have to follow like some strict plan.
Nope. Nope. It's all about experimenting.
Okay, I like that.
Finding the techniques you enjoy.
The ones that click for you.
The ones that click for you, exactly.
I love that. And remember, it's a journey, not a race.
Oh, that's so true.
Right.
Yeah.
There will be bumps along the way.
Definitely.
Times when you get frustrated.
Of course, yeah.
Maybe even times when you feel like giving up.
It happens. It happens to all of us.
I think anyone who's ever tried to learn a new language
yeah.
has been there.
Absolutely.
But how do we deal with those challenges, you know?
It's a great question.
When they inevitably come up.
The expert actually addresses this directly. Speaking blocks.
Speaking blocks. Okay.
They're totally normal.
So it's not just me.
It's not just you. It happens to everyone, even native speakers.
Huh. I never thought about that. But I guess, yeah, everyone gets stuck sometimes, right?
We all do. The key is to look at those challenges as opportunities.
Opportunities for what?
For growth. For learning.
Okay, so instead of feeling stuck, we can use those moments to actually get better.
Exactly.
That's a cool way to look at it.
The expert really emphasizes overcoming that fear of making mistakes.
That's a big one, isn't it?
It is a big one. That fear can really, paralyze us.
Yeah.
Keep us from speaking freely.
I've definitely been there.
Yeah.
Like, my brain just freezes up.
I know that feeling.
And I'm so worried about saying the wrong thing, you know,
Right.
that I end up saying nothing at all.
It happens. But the expert makes this really interesting point, you know?
What's that?
Mistakes are actually a crucial part of the learning process.
They are.
They are. Think about it. When we were kids learning to walk.
We fell down all the time.
All the time. But every time we stumbled, it helped us get better.
It helped us, refine our balance.
Exactly.
And eventually we figured it out.
And eventually we learned how to walk. So it's like those mistakes give us the feedback we need.
Okay, yeah.
To adjust and get better.
That's a good analogy.
Think.
So instead of being afraid of mistakes, we can actually use them as stepping stones.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
The expert shares a really inspiring story about a student named Daniel.
Okay, what about Daniel?
So Daniel was terrified of making mistakes in English.
Oh, I think we've all been there.
I think we have. He would overthink every single word.
Mm-hmm.
He would hesitate all the time. And a lot of times he would just avoid speaking altogether.
I can totally relate to Daniel. I've definitely felt that fear of judgment.
Right, right. So what helped him? Well, the expert encouraged him to shift his mindset.
From what to what?
From focusing on perfection to focusing on progress.
Oh, I see. So it's not about being perfect all the time.
Exactly.
It's about making progress over time.
Exactly. They helped him understand that making mistakes wasn't a sign of failure.
Okay.
It was a necessary part of learning.
It's amazing how just changing your perspective can make such a big difference.
It can.
Instead of seeing those mistakes as something to be, ashamed of,
right,
we can view them as a way to actually improve.
Exactly.
So what are some practical things we can do to overcome that fear?
Oh, yeah. The expert offers a bunch of great techniques.
Okay, I'm ready.
One of them is the power of self-talk.
Wait, so I can improve my speaking skills by talking to myself?
You can. It might sound a little strange, but talking to yourself in English can be super helpful.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
The expert suggests using self-talk to, describe your day, ask yourself questions, even practice different scenarios out loud. It's like having a conversation with yourself, but in English.
I kind of like that.
Yeah. It's like you're turning those internal monologues into language practice.
And the best part is, I can do it anywhere, anytime, without feeling self-conscious.
Exactly, exactly. What other techniques do they recommend? Well, they also talk about shadowing.
Shadowing, okay.
And shadowing can be really helpful when you're, feeling stuck.
Why is that?
Because it kind of gives you this framework, for speaking.
So you're not just blank slate, come up with something brilliant.
Exactly. You're not putting pressure on yourself to find the perfect words.
Right, you're just following along.
You're just following the lead of a native speaker.
Like training wheels for conversations.
I love that, yeah.
But instead of balance, I'm working on pronunciation.
Right.
Intonation, fluency.
Exactly. And you can gradually increase the difficulty as you get more comfortable.
Okay.
Start with short simple sentences,
Right.
and then work your way up to longer, more complex ones.
So don't overwhelm yourself right away.
Right.
What about those situations where, like, I know what I want to say, but I just can't get the words out?
Oh, yeah, I know those moments.
Yeah.
Those are the worst. The expert recommends role-playing those challenging situations.
Oh, like we were talking about before.
Exactly. It's like a way to kind of desensitize yourself to the fear, you know?
Okay.
So, for example, if you're nervous about, like, giving a presentation in English,
Oh, yeah.
practice it at home first.
So it's like a dress rehearsal.
Exactly. A dress rehearsal for real-life conversations.
I like that.
Yeah, by practicing it beforehand, you're training your brain and your body to respond in a calm and confident way.
So I'm not caught off guard when the real thing happens.
Exactly. It's like you're creating a mental script for yourself.
Okay, I like that. That makes a lot of sense. And remember, they say it's not just about the words themselves.
Right.
It's also about, like, your nonverbal communication.
Right. Exactly.
Like eye contact, gestures, all that.
All of that, yep. Practice making eye contact, using gestures, projecting your voice.
It's so easy to forget about all that when you're focused on, like, remembering the right words, right?
It is. And the expert really emphasizes this idea of keeping a positive mindset.
Oh, yeah. That's so important.
It is. You know, celebrate those small wins.
Yeah.
Focus on your progress.
Don't beat yourself up.
Exactly. And remember, every step you take, no matter how small, it's bringing you closer to fluency.
I love that. It's like they're giving me permission to be imperfect,
They are.
to stumble, to learn, and to just keep going.
Yes, keep going.
But what about those times when I, like, don't have anyone to practice with?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That's where technology can be really helpful.
Oh, yeah.
There are so many online platforms these days that are designed to connect language learners
Really?
from all over the world.
So even if I don't personally know any native English speakers, I can still find people to practice with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. These platforms offer like a safe and supportive environment, you know,
That's cool.
to connect with others, practice your speaking skills, and get feedback.
It's less intimidating that way.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah. Because we're all in this together, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're all kind of on the same journey.
Exactly. And even if you like prefer to practice solo,
Right.
you can still use these platforms for things like virtual language exchanges, pronunciation guides, even like AI-powered conversation partners.
Wow. Technology is really changing the game when it comes to language learning.
It is.
That's amazing.
All of these insights from the expert have given us such a fresh perspective, I think,
Yeah, I agree.
on how to approach speaking English with confidence.
It's not about being perfect. It's about embracing the journey.
It is.
Celebrating our progress.
Yeah.
Finding ways to make it fun.
Exactly. You got it.
I love that. I couldn't agree more. It's about shifting our focus from, like, fear and self-doubt to, like, playfulness,
Yeah.
curiosity, and a willingness to really just step outside our comfort zone.
I love that. And the most important takeaway, I think,
What's that?
don't let fear hold you back.
Yeah.
Embrace the challenge, celebrate the wins, and most importantly, have fun along the way.
I love that.
Yeah.
This deep dive has definitely left me feeling inspired and empowered to keep pushing forward on my own language learning journey.
Awesome. That's great to hear.
And I hope our listeners feel the same way.
Me too.
So that's it for our deep dive on speaking English with confidence. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.